Hello, everyone. As you'll have noticed, Ellie's not here, and he sends his apologies. And we're here with
Andrea.
Elias is me, and Andrea, my wife, and as you know, Andrew.
Obviously.
And we welcome you to today's Parsha, which I believe, Andrew, is Chukat Balak.
Chukat Balak.
Absolutely.
So yeah, Elias just...
which comes quite near the end of the desert experience. It's not in the 40th year, it's in the 38th year.
38. Okay, yeah. Couple of years away.
Couple of years away.
Wow. So.
And you said, Andrew, last week that is one of your favorite, isn't it? You said you really like this one.
I do, because I love the red heifer. One of the things central to this Parsha is needing to be purified. And particularly from those who had been near dead bodies.
Yeah.
Because in the Jewish tradition, you could never have a kohanim, a priest, who had been near a dead body.
Wow.
And this talks about the kohanim, and you need to be totally purified in order to do your work at the temple. And the only way to be purified when you've been next to a dead body of your Kohanim is through the red heifer.
Yeah.
And that's through the water, which is produced by first sacrificing the red heifer outside of the camp, flicking some of the blood with over towards the front of the tabernacle, burning it all with outside the camp, which includes the dung and everything, and then somehow mixing those ashes with some water. Oh, you also add some particular, is it a red cord of flax and cedar wood and hyssop in that fire as well, which I think they're the cleansing things used for making clean a leper as well. They're quite an extraordinary process. I've also heard that it's very, very difficult to get the red heifer in the first place.
To get a red heifer, now there are a few people who actually spend their life creating them or breeding them. They breed them in Israel.
Wow.
So that when the time comes, you cannot build a temple or set aside a temple without a red heifer.
Yeah, because you need that for purification.
To purify the priests.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when I was reading the passage, I'm sure you know more about it. Obviously, I was looking at the instruction that they had. They were very rigid instructions. It was like direction that the priest was supposed to like throw the blood, and it was that 7 times. So I know like numerology is really important in the.
But you know, I've been this day today. I have been looking at this very thing of the 7 Aliyah.
Yes.
Every Parsha, there are 7 Aliyah.
Right.
There are 7 sections to the Parsha. And if you read the Midrash or the Mishkan, you always find in every Parsha commentary, there are always the 7 Aliyahs.
Wow.
Oh, that's really
The
interesting.
Shiva Aliyah.
Wow. And it's the number.
But as Andreea was saying, 7 is a very important number. Very important, that whole number. For the Christians, it's the number of the 7 spirits. But in Judaism, you know, in every wedding, before you smash the glass as the man, you have the Shiva Berachot, the 7 benedictions.
Wow.
And the 7 benedictions are at the heart of every Jewish wedding.
Wow.
Yeah. And
what's going to be our first marital home, Andreea thinks it's really funny. And she thinks that I chose this house. We're in the process of buying it. And she thinks I chose it just because it's number 7. And it's
it's gonna be our house number 7.
Enough reason?
Yeah, I thought so.
Not that we had actually a Bible verse from God, but like number 7.
Because 7, I know people say unbiblically that 7's their lucky number. 7 is a very spiritual number, both within the Hebrew scripture and within the New Testament.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the 7 letters of the churches and 7
days of creation.
7 days of creation.
Yeah, all of it.
Yeah, I that's why I was actually asking you, Andrew, because I think we do struggle with the concept of numerology within, you know, religion, because now numerology is a lot about my lucky number, as you said, or this luck, or the lucky day.
And all tied up with the cultic things.
Exactly.
And
but
even in Kabbalah, Kabbalah, which is Jewish mysticism, so much of that has been taken over by the New Age cultic people.
Yeah.
Yes, and this is very sad, really, because we miss actually what actually the meaning of it. But so Andrew, you were mentioning about the weddings, isn't it? And we do have a passion for the Hasidic Jews, right?
You and I are really into the Hasids.
I think I watched 2 weddings, Hasidic wedding, in the last 2 days. And
it's the only time in the Hasidic religious community, the only time there will ever be one woman amongst the men.
Wow.
And she is kept on a piece of long string.
Gosh.
And the Rebbe, the big Rebbe, will dance with her, holding on to the ribbon. She will hold it at one end, and 10 feet away he will hold it.
Wow. That would be beautiful to see. That'd be lovely to see.
I feel like I've seen so many now. I actually
ask your dear Andreea, and she might show it to you.
I will. I'll have a look.
Good.
So we have and one of my next passage, the next part, which I guess is maybe the second aliyah of the Parsha. Would that be the Waters of Mareeba?
Waters of Mareeba.
Waters of Meribah, which I've always found a really fascinating passage. And we were talking to Andreea about it earlier. The way that, as far as I can tell from the passage, Moses seems to incur God's wrath on him simply because he didn't just speak to the rock, but he hit it with his stick.
He shouted and got angry with it.
Yes. Which is significant. And it's actually on the back of that God said, sorry, Moses, you've taken the people out of Egypt and walked them around the desert for 40 years, but because of this...
Adumim. It was in that place of Pa'ala Adumim.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, and then straight away we see Aaron set, isn't it?
Yeah.
Straight after.
But I was
eyes.
But I was thinking about that part of how sometimes when we get, if we are trying to walk with God or knowing God, there is an importance in not letting your own will get out of control. There's that humility.
Your anger. It's
And
so important that we have to maintain love. And love has to be the core of all we do.
Absolutely. And I was fascinated by the post that you posted the other day, just trying to bring up the question of reconciliation and what we might have, and just looking at the comments coming down, and just how difficult it seems for people to balance zealous love of their God with love for others as well, and the things they might say to each other. It's amazing.
People are very hesitant to really talk about reconciliation when it means accepting the other. How can you really be reconciled, they were saying?
Yeah.
What about belief in Christ and salvation? And I said, the fact is, to be reconciled does not mean we deny our own truths, but we accept the other.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not saying that we accept only the way of salvation according to the Noahide mitzvah in Judaism, but it's saying that we accept them at the same time acknowledging what we believe. Yeah. And for me as a Christian who spent their life living amongst the Jews, the rabbis have often said to me, Andrew, why haven't you become a Jew? And I say, because like you, I would never want you to leave Judaism and become a Christian. I believe that Yeshua is HaMashiach.
And your seed.
I can never deny my faith and family tradition.
Wow.
And don't you lot marry out.
Don't you lot marry out. That's an interesting segue onto a later passage of this Parsha.
It's quite interesting though, because I think it's a big testimony, isn't it? Sometimes we kind of try to evangelize to other people or things, but like when someone actually says, well, I don't really want to become a Jew because I know who the Messiah is, and I know what he did for me. And yeah, I think I will just think, if I was that person, I would kind of think like, well, you know, it's a very good example, I think. Just our confidence in who we trust and who we believe in, just to be there as an example. So
True. Yeah. I think at the very end of this Parsha we have the Israelites starting to get led astray with is it the Moabite women, I think?
The Moabites, yeah.
And then you have the actions of Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the priest, who takes up a spear, and it sounds like a guy. One of the Israelites walks right past the tent of meeting. So Moses is there, Aaron's there, all the priests are there, with this lady from the Moabite, and they go straight into this tent. And Phinehas follows them in and stabs them through with a spear, and God says, "Great, I'll lift the plague because this man has honoured me, or has made my holiness evident to you all." But he says 22,000 people had died already, I think, in the plague.
Does this Parsha have the serpent on the rod?
Yeah,
Yes,
sorry,
I've
skipped
I think
just because of the segue, but we can go back.
I
forth.
think it's kept actually my favorite part of this Parsha, and it just run away.
Yeah, the serpent is after.
Yeah, what is the serpent?
I wanted last week when it wasn't there.
And now he's trying to skip again, and now he's in there.
I wasn't trying to skip it. It just seemed like a good segue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about the bronze serpent, Andrew.
Well, I think it's wonderful that this serpent, which was wrapped around the spear, was seen as a means of restitution and wholeness. But for us as Christians, it's also an incredible sign of the cross. And looking up is like looking to the cross.
I think Jesus applies it to himself. He says, just as Moses lifted up the snake in the desert,
Yeah.
you will see the Son of Man lifted up. Yeah.
And before you read about why actually this happened, it's because again the Israelites they just said, what are we doing here? Let's go back to Egypt. We just need to eat this manna, and we just, and you see, like, they've been through so many things. It's not just something that they have seen the glory of God.
We loathe this worthless food.
Yeah, and I think they have seen all these miracles. They have seen what happened to Aaron.
Would you like to join the Parsha, Jacob?
Who's in it?
Oh.
Hello.
Hello, Jacob.
Hi.
This is Elias, and this is my friend Andreea.
Hi guys, how are you?
Hi,
Jacob.
I'm Andrew's son.
Nice
All
to meet you.
Yeah.
I think we heard about you from Andrew.
Really? There we go.
He's a lot about you. How's it going?
Doing? Where are you guys?
Nottingham.
Up north.
Nottingham. I've got a few friends who go Nottingham Trent. So.
All right.
Oh, we are really close to Nottingham Trent. Yeah.
What you go to? What's the one in Nottingham that I've been to before?
The massive one is Trent Vineyard.
Not that one. It's like
Grace Church.
I think it's that one.
Grace Church near the train station.
It's quite young and trendy.
Yeah, they're very young and trendy, but they're lovely. They're proper. We know some brilliant people there.
We are actually using the Zoom of one of the guys, isn't it, from Grace?
We are, yeah. Credit to Tim Bunker from Grace Church for letting us use his Zoom account, so we couldn't record on it.
That's funny. All right, nice to meet you guys. Okay.
Nice to meet you. Bye.
All right, God bless.
Oh.
So I've never had my son come into a Parsha before.
Wow. Seems cool.
Ellie's gonna laugh when he's gonna say this, isn't he? He's gonna see like yeah.
Ellie knows Jacob.
Let's see. Sorry?
Ellie knows Jacob.
He knows Jacob.
I'm sure he does.
Yeah.
So yeah, were you talking with your kid?
Yeah, I think I was just saying about the Israelis just not actually just carry on like with the same, not trusting God, like just being like, let's go back to Egypt, like just wanting to remain in captivity.
We don't like this manna. That always, when I was a little kid, I wanted to really find out what manna tasted like or what it was like. And so when I read this, I'm always thinking like, that's so ungrateful. But if you're eating it every day, I suppose. But I always wanted to find out what manna tasted like.
I think it's a mixture of communion wafers and matzah.
Ooh.
Pretty ghastly.
Pretty rubbish. Okay.
Yeah.
I always thought it was really nice.
but it will give you everything that you need for the daily.
So what was the second thing you said? Matzah?
Matzah.
Matzah. What's that then?
Unleavened bread for Passover.
For the Seder meal, I see.
Yeah, for the Seder.
But yeah, I think the my point it is also because like straight before this lament again, the Israelis, they won against the Canaanites, isn't it? And I think I was quite interesting to see that actually they said they made this vow to God, and they said, if you let us go through this place, we are going to win, and we're going to kill them, and we're going to take the territory. And I was thinking, actually, see, God helped them and made them like give them this success, not because they were doing like a holy life, or because they weren't like they were really like letting God down, really, isn't it? By all the time saying, let's go back to Egypt. But actually, you know, because they trusted God and they said, if you let us do that, we're going to succeed and we're going to take over. It's just so beautiful how God just like says, yes, you know, and then they win because God is glorified in that.
And the Lord heeded the
voice. Which Aliyah is this? Is this the fifth Aliyah?
Yes, this is, well, it's, in ours it's Numbers 21, just before the Bronze Serpent she's talking about. Yeah.
I love that because I think it makes us, you know, because when we look at these passages, we think, oh, it's something that happened, you know, there. But it's so something that is so like, you know, we can apply it to everyday life, what's happening. Are we trying to go back to Egypt in our everyday life? Are we, you know, we've got coronavirus. Are people actually wanting to go out of coronavirus restrictions and like embrace the freedom again that we have, or they want to just like stay where they are and just, you know?
That's really good because you're really enabling us to identify this Parsha with us now.
Absolutely.
In today's society.
Yeah.
And that's so important. And that is something we must do.
I know.
Yeah.
No, we are. There's a real sense of anxiety and fear and not of this kind of conquering. If you will indeed give this people into my hand, then I will devote their cities to destruction. It's a bloody passage, but you hear a boldness, a courageousness, a
trust, I think,
and a trust,
like a trust, and
a courage,
yeah.
Courageousness.
Yeah, and also it sets a bit like the thing of like, for me, especially about like, well, it's not about actually, you know, obviously if you sin, we see that God punish you. Like we see like, oh, if you go away out from the way, it's not going to bring like good things in your life. But actually it's when God is glorified that, you know, it's going to be that fruit in your life or in the society, like.
Yeah. And I think next to this, there's what I'd see is the third water bit of this Parsha. You have the water of purification, then you have the waters of Mareeba, and then you have the people of Israel singing songs about various wells.
And wells always signify great life and restoration and hope and future.
Amen. And I'm reminded of the well and the Canaanite woman. If you asked me for water, I'll give you water that will well up to eternal life, Jesus said to her. It was wonderful.
Yeah, it make you think of life, isn't it? Like green and yeah.
We need a bit more life at the moment, I think.
We need. Do we have
was-
wells in England?
was very-
Actually,
There was
Sure we do.
I heard a very sad prayer the other day. I heard somebody praying, "Please, Lord, would you keep the children under control over the weekend so they're not running around too much and spreading coronavirus?" And I just felt I felt quite sad hearing that. I was like, no, I want to see jubilation again. I want to see people out enjoying themselves again.
Allowing children to be liberated.
Exactly. It's so tragic for them.
but we are actually asking God to do that. It's just a bit. It tells us how recent actually the things that we are reading in Numbers are.
How relevant, yeah.
Isn't it good, though, that as Christians, we're studying the Parsha and we're reading the Torah and Numbers, which nobody even looks at?
Quite rarely.
When did you last see anybody studying Numbers?
Why do you think is that, Andrea? What went missing in our culture?
I think it's because we have so de-Judaized our faith.
True.
And the centrality of the Torah has just been removed.
Yeah.
And yet our faith without the Torah is not whole.
Not at all.
At the very center of our faith tradition is the Torah.
It is.
It is.
And I really thank God that every Shabbat I look at the Parsha. And before Shabbat, as we're doing now, we're talking the Parsha, and I always write a small commentary on it every week. And
Yeah.
we now do our little online talks every week.
Yes.
And we love them as well. It's
so
lovely to
honored to
hear
be-
you and Ellie talk them through. It's great.
Yeah.
It's real encouragement.
I'm actually, we kind of miss Ellie obviously as well. it's such a great guy, Ellie, isn't it? It's such a So we're very blessed that we've met both of you.
He's a wise man as well, Eli. Ellie, Eli.
Eli.
I'm not sure. Sorry.
Ellie.
Is it Ellie?
There we are.
Ellie in the Hebrew tradition, Eli in the Christian tradition.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's where it is.
Yeah. He was saying something about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. And you miss a lot in Numbers. You get all the cool stuff. There's King Og of Bashan getting killed, who a lot of people think was a giant. I like that. But then we have, I think the Balaam and his donkey has to be another, just one of those, such a
Balaam and his donkey, yeah.
Balaam and his donkey.
Balaam.
Like, what an incredible passage. You had this man who was called up to come and curse Israel. He had the right idea. He said, I don't think I can, but I'll ask God. God says, you don't know, don't you go. And then God said, okay, you go, but only say what I tell you. But he managed to do something else that angered God on the way, and therefore the angel of the Lord, which actually as Christians we would believe is maybe Jesus Christ himself when it's referred to the angel of the Lord, but stood in front of the donkey and stopped him. But he couldn't see it, so he started hitting his donkey. And
There's so much to learn, isn't there?
He's an amazing. I think Balaam is really a.
Balaam.
How do you say?
Balaam?
Balaam or Balaam?
Balaam.
just a matter of pronunciation.
Pronunciation.
Like my name.
Yeah, like your name. Balaam is probably more accurate pronunciation.
Balaam.
But
Well,
those of us have been brought up in church, we say Balaam.
Yeah.
But I do have a question for you. So how, Balaam, so obviously he was not an Israelite, because he was from that place. And actually we see that he actually, honored God, and he knew actually God, and he was a prophet. How did that happen?
Well, that's the question we say all the time. How is it? The fact is that God is not just for the Jews.
Amen.
For Goy as well.
This is what I was thinking. I was
Jew nor Gentile.
Yeah.
I was actually looking at him and I was saying like, oh, so like obviously he was from the outside, he was not God's people, but he's been chosen by God.
Exactly.
And you can be chosen wherever you are, if you are in whatever.
Like us, we have all been chosen by God.
Amen.
Yes.
Amen.
We are all a bit Balaam through Jesus.
Yeah, he woke us up in the night.
Yeah.
Enlighten the darkness. And the other passage, even going right back to the beginning, I've heard some people talk about the fact that the red heifer, the sacrifice for the atonement, the sacrifice for the purification, was made outside of the camp. Even that could be an echo. And obviously, I think in Hebrews, they think that the writer of Hebrews makes the similarity to Jesus being sacrificed outside the city gates as well. But then also the fact it's being taken out.
This is absolutely core.
Yeah.
To the whole soteriology of this passage.
Exactly. Taken outside.
I like the red heifer.
Me too. Yeah.
It's so good being able to just sit down, discuss this, and talk about it, and see what it means to us.
Yes.
Amen.
I love studying the Torah and Parsha very much in the light of my Judaic understanding, but I love discussing it and understanding it in the light of my faith, my Christian faith tradition, because it tells us so much. And what we've got to encourage is that Christians will get back to the roots of the Torah, because it's not just for the Jews, for the Hasids, it's for us Goy as well.
Amen. I know.
Yes, Andrew, because it is so important to know who we are in Jesus. Obviously, this is what it's obviously, something that is preached in churches quite a lot. But I think we should actually start from knowing where we were, where God was, and the amazing work that God has done to graft us into his people, to take us in. And if we don't know what we have been grafted in, we kind of lose our identity too. Like part of our identity definitely needs to have that knowledge of who we are right now.
So in this Parsha this week, I know we've gone on a lot longer than we should have done.
Oh, is that right?
Ellie's gonna cut it.
They will tell us we've done too much, but
Okay.
it's good that we have seen the amazing sense of the salvation which came through the Exodus, which came through the wilderness experience, which is made known to us in our faith tradition.
Amen.
And we will be back next week.
With Ellie, maybe.
Yes. And we'd love to join you again. It'd be lovely.